As you are aware, there are several conflicts on the African continent that include the one in Cameroon that has never been solved, the one in Nigeria that is causing the insecurity that has affected most of the northern part of Nigeria. It has never been concluded. The Biafran War, the conflict in Libya, the conflict in South Sudan, the conflict in Central African Republic, the conflict in DRC Congo, the conflict in Cote d'Ivoire, the conflict in Burkina Faso, the conflict in Niger, the conflict in Guinea. If you look at all these countries, these conflicts are all brought about because of one nation, a nation called France. And we should not fear to say it, because telling them will make them correct the mistakes of the past. Telling them will make them change their policy on these nations. It is very important for you to understand that Central African Republic has been bleeding for the last 30 years. Change of government. If there is a place in Africa where French troops have stayed longer, it is in Central African Republic. For the interest, are they for the interest of Central African Republicans? Are they for the interest of the Africans? Are they the native Africans? How many presidents have changed since Bokassa? Bozize was once a president, another one came and overthrew him. He overthrew another one. He now wants to come back. But we shall come back to that later. Mine is an overview of what is happening exactly around that region. Look at the conflict of Mali. Bamako is run off, run in, run out. Now the army took over. There is no more fighting. The French are working with the army. You can see we can never get out of this web of conflict. And until Africa realizes that this web of conflict is what causes their retardation, retarding the economies, retardation of economies, of our economic makeup, money power, is when we can get out as Africans. If we don't, we shall remain slaves, enslaved, we shall remain people called names. Yet we have enough of political manpower. Yet we have enough economic manpower. DRC Congo, for example, doesn't it have enough manpower? Doesn't it have enough economic power to feed the whole of Africa? But it borrows money to run its elections. Elections and the conflicts in African countries, they go hand in hand. One would wonder why South Africa is embedded fully in Central African Republic. But the reason is very clear, is to collect the diamonds. South Africa is in Central Africa to collect the diamonds. The share of the loot that France collects. Each day, France has 2 Airbus leaving Paris to land in Bangui. Remember, there are 2 countries that have same names but different spellings, Banjul and Bangui. The capital city of Central African Republic is Bangui. Banjul is the capital city of Gambia. They land in Bangui. What do they carry? They are not tourists. They are not tourists in Central African Republic. Every place in Central African Republic, apart from the city, I've been to Central African Republic in city of Bangui. I went there while I was chasing peace in Uganda. I went there to plead with the president of Central African Republic by then, not to allow the Ugandan rebels to enter Central African Republic, to persuade them with Kisano for them to return on table. So I know the conflict very well. If there is anybody who claims to have known it better than me, let him come up on the show. The number is, you can put it on the screen. We are ready to have a challenge on this, what I'm talking about. So the countries, South Africa, and invited by AU under Zuma, Dlamini Zuma, they went to collect diamonds for Zuma and the family. They have opened an embassy there. But if you ask what South African troops are doing in Central African Republic, what type of peacekeeping they do, nobody can explain to you. But you find the group of Paramount Group, a mercenary fashion house outfit of South African intelligence, in the presence in Bangui. Country number 2, France, is in Central Africa, is a permanent, actually that one has been permanently there, removing governments, overthrowing governments, changing governments, directing policy. Another country that has been sacked in the Central African War is now Rwanda. Rwanda has gone there on the invitation of the United Nations and the African Union. And the United Nations as a protection force. Another country that has gone there now, the current entrant, is Russia. Another country that is in Central African Republic is Chad. We have South Sudan. Part of the South Sudan, some of them, you remember even Riek Machar had to get a helicopter from Central African Republic to escape when Salva Kiir was chasing him. So there are troops there. Another contingent of troops that are in Central African Republic are the UN peacekeeping forces of MONUC, UNIMID, and others that are surrounded in Darfur. Part of them, they play part. They go and steal these diamonds. They go, yeah, it is a diamond trade. And let's be honest, the bottom line in Central African Republic is diamonds. Because even the rebels, and that I'm mentioning it to you, another group that exists in Central African Republic are the Lord Resistance Army rebels. They exist. They are either with the government of Central African Republic or they are with the opposition person of the Central African Republic. Another component that is in the Central African Republic, Miriam, is Uganda, UPDF, Uganda Army of President General Yoweri Kaguta Tubahura. You know the meaning of Tubahura? Is a person who does not listen to anybody. Tubahura, self-centered, he will never be advised by anybody. That is the name by the people, guardians who looked after him when he was studying in Intare and Dar es Salaam University. No wonder he has rediscovered this name at the last minute. Uganda People's Defense Forces are in Central African Republic. Another rebel group is the rebel groups from Congo, DRC Congo, where you get the rebel groups that were commanded by Ntaganda, by Thomas Rubanga, and Abemba. These are in Central African Republic. So if it's a cocktail of these groups, Miriam, a cocktail of these groups and the panel that form currently what we call Central African Republic. They man the intelligence, the security, the economy, I don't know, the government. So Bozize rebel group has got a boost. And ukweli yuambiwe. Let's talk the truth. UPDF supports Bozize. And Rwanda has been taken there as a protection force. So very soon, it won't be very long before the two finish it up in the Central African Republic. Whoever calculated, it is important for Kenya as a member of the United Nations Security Council to understand the gymnastics and the logistics and the intelligence of the formation of rebel activities that take place in this region. It is important for Kenya as a nation, an island of peace, to understand the functions of a dictatorship, a person who has stood up to muzzle, to stifle all the states around this region up to Indian Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. So viewers, these are some of the facts. If you look at the West, there's Cameroon, which is under fire. Central Africa is a target of all the difficulties that we have in this Africa and AU. It is therefore my opinion, and I want to say, elections that were conducted, will they hold? Will the government in Central Africa hold? Or will it bring a new conflict? I agree, therefore, that our mindset must change and start questioning why we collect diamonds from Central Africa, but we have no factory for diamonds in Kampala. I rest my case.